Welcome to my presentation on the transnational singing project ChorOnline. I guess the most important thing here is that ChorOnline was never actually intended to be a project at all. It just started out of the sheer necessity of the choir Singfrauen Winterthur in Switzerland when the lockdown started in Switzerland in March and they couldn't carry out their weekly rehearsals anymore. And so their choir leader, Franziska Welti, decided to instead start the rehearsals online via Zoom. And in one of these Zoom rehearsals, she invited her friend, the Georgian choir leader Tamar Buadze, to teach a traditional Georgian song to the Singfrauen Winterthur. And this was very successful. And so a week later, the same happened again, and then Tamar Buadze was invited to give an entire Georgian singing workshop on a Sunday evening online, and it was very, very successful. Lots of people attended. So a week later, Franziska Welti had the idea that she could also invite her Armenian friends from the duo Tieserg to teach Armenian traditional songs. And again, that was a success. And so this kind of online special workshop started to develop into a project. And that was the time when Franziska asked me to also be part of this project, and we developed what we called ChorOnline. And as you can see, Corona is of course also present in the name of this project. So in the initial phase, our offer was that we would provide or organize 2 weekly virtual choir sessions, 90 minutes each, with musical experts from different cultures, and that they would teach us their traditional songs. And on a practical level, that was done via Zoom. Everybody apart from the workshop leader was muted, and so you could just, sing along with the workshop leaders. And the idea was also that this workshop should be open to whoever was interested, to whoever wanted to attend. Didn't matter where they were from and what their economic situation was like. And this is also the reason why we decided to finance this only based on donations. So people could pay as much as they wanted, as much as it was worth for them, and also, according to the different economic situations. And with that money, we would then pay the workshop leaders. So the initial tasks were quite simple. Franziska basically collected all the scores from the workshop leaders and edited them if they wanted to teach with scores at all. Some didn't. And we both organized the workshops and publicized them very simply via email and on Facebook. And then I had the idea that we could maybe professionalize this a bit, and I started investigating about the setting up of a website, because I thought it might be also nice for our participants and for the workshop leaders if they could kind of, work in a more professional organization. And so our initial ideas were simply that this kind of workshop, ChorOnline, should be basically beneficial for the workshop leaders as well as the participants. So for the workshop leaders, it meant that they could, continue teaching singing despite the lockdown in the various countries, and we would help them also to work with the online teaching or online virtual platform Zoom. We'd explain how it works. It would mean that they would get a financial support, and this was especially important for us, for people who came from countries that did not support their artists during the lockdown. And something we didn't really plan, but it was reported to us by the workshop leaders, is that they quite enjoyed that they were able to teach their traditional songs the way they wanted to teach them. So they could, bring their own arrangements and could teach it the way they wanted to teach it, maybe not with all the stanzas, etc. So there was no ethnomusicological orthodoxy around, which they are sometimes used if they teach their traditional songs to people from other cultures. Also, the workshop proved to be quite beneficial for our workshop leaders in terms of networking and fostering future collaborations. For the participants, it was also quite attractive because it meant that they could have their weekly singing sessions within a virtual choir that existed of people from different countries. So that was quite an exciting exchange. And it kind of became a community, which was really nice. People got to know each other, etc. Also, it meant that participants received direct tuition by musical experts of different cultures, and that they were just taught by, the masters. And also, it was affordable for everybody because we based it on the donation system. It was also flexible, so you didn't have to attend all the sessions because every session was kind of closed in its own. And for me especially, it was important to base our project idea on the principles of applied ethnomusicology. So in that case, it meant that there should be a mutual exchange for all partners, a win-win situation. And our task as organisers would be to provide technical know-how if needed and to organise the events. There were, of course, also some challenges, and one of the most difficult one for us was the criteria of how we chose our workshop leaders. And of course, Franziska Welti being a singer and I'm being an ethnomusicologist, we had different preferences. So for me, it was especially important that our teachers would be cultural insiders and that they should, if possible, live also in the countries of their origin and not in the Western European diaspora, for instance. This was not always possible, of course, but it was just a kind of wish I had. And for Franziska, it was especially important that they would be experienced in teaching their traditional songs to choirs of other cultural backgrounds, because, of course, teaching styles vary and different participants have got different expectations of a leader. And so that was important for her. And also, we found out that it was quite attractive if our teachers could maybe teach not only one person but with two people at a time, because that meant that they could sing in two voices. And at home, if you were muted, you could then add your third voice to that. Sometimes they also brought their own instruments, and it just made it much more attractive acoustically. So these are some of the collaborators we've been working with so far from various countries, as you can see, and the list is actually going on. And another challenge we had was the distribution of the donations. That took us quite a long time to figure out how could we, give workshop leaders a fair price. Because of course people are from different countries and expect different salaries, etc. And in the end we decided that we would pay everybody as much as they would get if they taught directly in Switzerland. And for most people this is quite a good salary. For some people, like for instance for Norwegians, it wasn't that well paid. Okay, so I would love to give you now an audiovisual example. So this is what my screen looks like if I attend in one of the ChorOnline workshops. I usually have my scores electronically opened on the left, and then in the middle I can see the workshop leader. Here it's Tamar Buadze in the middle, and the other participants. And then we would also use the chat function, not only for people to ask questions, but rather to use them for translations from English to German and from German to English, because teachers have got, they teach in various languages. Let me give you now an audiovisual example. So this is a short extract of Tamar's lesson together with her son Irakli, and she also accompanies herself on the Georgian traditional instrument banduri. So this is basically what participants would hear at home, and then they could add their own voices. So here's an example where Tamar starts singing, and then her son sings the bass, and I sing the third voice to that at home. okay. Then from May on, we started a kind of second phase for ChorOnline, and we added 2 new offers to it. One of them was called Cafe Online Music and Cultural Context. Again, this was not really planned, it just happened out of a coincidence. We had a Russian singer who attended the workshops, and he was very interested also in always knowing the backgrounds of the songs, etc. And then he started to tell us about the Siberian traditions where he's from, and so we invited him to give a presentation on that, and he made a really beautiful PowerPoint and explained and showed, and so we thought this kind of ethnomusicological light kind of presentations with interactive parts were quite attractive, and so we established this cafe online. And I would now like to give you a short extract of one of these cafe online sessions with our Sami Joiker Eilers, who's from the Norwegian part of Sápmi.
Different places. I can start to do a yoik. It is our community yoik. You have community signs on schilt. Elisabeth, can you translate schilt, also vägschilt?
On the street signs or the community signs. Yeah.
But we have a community yoik. That it goes like this.
The second offer we introduced was what we called Concert Online, and this was basically that we chose different musical groups in and around the area of Zurich, who also played, music from different places. They were actually from different places, and we would just go home to them and film them in their homes, at their kitchen table, etc. And so here is a Turkish-Kurdish band who lives in Zurich and who is called Huma. And the interesting thing is also that when the lockdown stopped and concerts were also became possible again, with of course lots of security measures, etc., we organized some hybrid concerts, so concerts where people would actually be present with the distance and masks and everything, but which would be streamed at the same time, so we could get some more people to listen to that. But of course, this is not possible anymore at the moment. And and then we developed this web page, which is nice to look at, but it also meant immediately a lot of work. You probably know how much it takes to update the web page and to just make everything run smoothly and work, etc. So besides our normal lives and our normal paid jobs, because this was of course all voluntary, it meant an incredible workload, and so we were quite happy to find 2 people, a cultural manager as well as a retired GP, who decided to join our team and also work voluntarily with us, and they just help us to manage the increasing workload and also the professionalization of our project, in that they edit or create newsletters, update the websites, help with the organizations, translations, the hosting of the events, etc. And what are our future perspectives? Well, we were quite lucky. We took part in a competition which was organized by the city of Winterthur, and it supported projects that were to do with music and Corona. And were one of the winners, so we got some money from there, and that means that now we can first of all pay a little bit for our outsource of administrative work. But also it means that we can also invite high-profile musicians for the streaming or for the hybrid concerts, especially because, of course, salaries in Switzerland are high, and if we want to invite people from different cultures who live here to give concerts, we have to pay the fair prices. And we continue with our weekly choir sessions, and once a month we have a cafe online, and alternating with that a concert online. And so here you can see some of the upcoming events. And yeah, there were lots of positive feedback to our project, and I think the one that made me most happy was this one, which happened in the beginning of June, when our Armenian partners wrote this text on Facebook. So basically what happened is that they were given a job offer in Armenia, which was based on their online teaching experience that they gained with our project. So that made me really quite happy. And here are also some of the feedback that we got from members of the participants. So quite like this one. You won't believe what a pleasure these ChorOnline evenings give me. Living during the Corona crisis has again a positive side. Thank you. And now thank you for listening and for your interest.